Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and today we are in Game Week 21, almost. Game Week 20 hasn't quite finished, but it doesn't mean we can't start thinking about our Game Week 21 transfer. So we're going to be doing a tier list today on this Monday where we're going to be looking at the most popular picks and rating them on a tier list. If you do enjoy this video, please do leave a like, please do subscribe if you're new around here, but let's have a look at this tier list. So I've got in front of me the 30 most popular players, 30 most popular transfers in this game week, should I say. And we're going to be ranking them in the following categories: must-buys, great transfers, good transfers, optionals, and avoids. If a player is not on this list, it's just because they're not very popular transfers in, but do feel free to leave a comment of any other players you want me to put on the tier list. Again, this is going to be very much my opinion. We're going to go through all 30. We're going to try and go fairly quickly today because there's a lot of players to get through. I'm going to start off with Lewis Dunk, and I'm going to put him in, I think, somewhere between avoid and low optional. I'm going to put him in optional, I guess, but I think I'd probably be more tempted to put him in avoid. He is a player who I do have in my team, but he is a player I actually kind of regret getting. Brighton, although they did keep the clean sheet against Liverpool, and I know they have a kind of a chance of keeping a clean sheet in the next game as well against Leicester, but I'm just not completely convinced by the Brighton defence at the moment. They have been kind of lacking a little bit and conceding a lot of chances. So I'm not convinced by this defence. And also there's a very good chance of Brighton actually having a blank game week in game week 25. And I don't think they're going to have any doubles between now and then either. Before I thought they might have some double game weeks coming up soon, but it looks like that's not going to happen now. So therefore Lewis Dunk is going to go in avoid for me. I'm going to put Leon Bailey in next. He's going to be an optional. I do think he is the best 4.5 million midfielder at the moment. But at the same time, are you going to waste a transfer on a 4.5 million midfielder like Bailey when you consider he has got Arsenal and Man City in his next 4 fixtures? 2 difficult fixtures there. But yeah, definitely do like this player in the long term. And potentially if you're on a wild card, he is the kind of player you could consider putting in your wild card team. But as a straight up transfer, I'm not really too keen on this one. I think we can go some slightly better areas. I think there are some better options. Next up, Botman. Another player who could potentially blank in Game Week 25, but I think the difference with Botman is that he will be keeping you clean sheets between now and then. So he should make up for the fact that, you know, sometimes you're going to have to bench him. You know, if we do have a double game week, if he is playing, then Newcastle are going to keep clean sheets. He is going to pick up points, potentially the odd bonus points if Newcastle continue to be kind of a low scoring team as well. And overall, we could actually see Botman pick up enough points where it kind of makes it justifiable, like having to transfer him out later or bench him later. I think he could be worthwhile even with that blank coming up. Pascal Gross, similar situation, blank coming up. I think there are 2 far better options than Pascal Gross if we're looking at the Brighton midfielders and at a cheaper price as well. You guys are probably going to already know who they are, but we are going to talk about them later on in the tier list. But therefore, Pascal Gross is just not going to be the one for me. There's 2 far better options who are much cheaper as well. So Gross, avoid for me. Ben White, I think he is, I guess he's optional. I just feel like is now the time to bring him in, you know, against Manchester United. If you're thinking of fixtures that Arsenal are going to struggle in at the moment, you would probably say that Manchester United would be one of them. They're kind of the other in-form team alongside Arsenal. Maybe put Newcastle in that bracket as well. But I do feel like there is potential for a clean sheet here. So although I do really like Ben White as an FPL option, I'm not 100% sure if this would be the game week I'd bring him in. I feel like whoever you've got in defence currently, maybe worth sticking with them for one more week. Just wait one more week before bringing it in Ben White. As long as you have him in your team by game week 24, is it? When he gets the double game week, then I think that's going to be absolutely fine. So you can wait till, or is it game week 23? Sorry, game week 23. If you have him by game week 23 for the double, I think that's fine. So just, yeah, you don't need to have him right now, but you've got to be at least keeping an eye on him. He's an optional pick for now. If I'm on a wild card, again, maybe I pick him. Cancelo, avoid. I don't really know why people are going for Cancelo right now. Seems a little bit strange. Yes, we did see him reintroduced into that Manchester United squad, but once again, Man City conceding goals. Cancelo not particularly putting in the greatest performance in the world, and we have got other options there at Man City who do seem to be preferred in general. Cancelo also offering next to nothing in attack at the moment, not creating chances, not taking shots on, and he comes in at a very, very expensive price of 7.2 million. So considering considering he's not nailed anymore, you know, poor stats and very expensive, seems like not a very good pick to go for right now. It's a lot of money to spend on not very much, to be honest. So yeah, not too keen on this one, to be honest, guys. He's going to have to go into the avoid category. Next up, Isak. I kind of like this as a bit of a punt. I'm not going to lie. I feel like I have to put him in at least optional, I guess. Crystal Palace next. It's not the greatest fixture in the world. Crystal Palace don't concede too many chances, but Isak, I like him. He's coming in quite cheap at the moment at 6.6. He's only just returning to fitness. The idea is probably that he is going to get some game time. Is he a guaranteed starter ahead of Wilson? No. Can Wilson and Isak play together up front? Potentially. Who's going to be dropping out to make that happen? Not sure. Maybe Almiron potentially there. Or maybe Isak comes in on the left-hand side. Not entirely sure, to be honest. It's a bit of an interesting one, but I do like this as a punt. I feel like this is one of the ones it could really pay off. Yes, it could go badly as well, but it also could really pay off. So yeah, one to think about, one to genuinely think about. Maybe I'm tempted to put him low on good transfer, but he does provide a lot of risk, and that's the one thing putting me off Isak at the moment. But great player, great numbers whenever he's played for Newcastle. Kind of like him. Raya, don't really like him as a transfer necessarily, but he's a fine goalkeeper to have. The one problem, of course, is that's Game Week 25 blank that is likely to happen for Brentford due to the League Cup final fixture clashes, where Brentford are potentially going to miss a game there. So yeah, I feel like, yeah, Raya, would I bring him in right now? Probably not, but there are worse keepers to go for right now. There are worse keepers to go for. Serge Aurier, I mean, Nottingham Forest are doing well right now, but am I super convinced by going for a 4.5 million defender from Nottingham Forest? Probably not. If I had to go for a Nottingham Forest defender, though, it would be Aurier. He is providing the best attacking numbers in terms of taking shots on and creating chances for his teammates. So there is that. That is a kind of a good thing, but overall, it seems like a bit of a weird one. It doesn't feel quite right to go for a Forest kind of defender, does it? You feel like they are going to concede goals eventually, even though they have played very well over the last couple of games. Still not totally convinced by this one. Ferguson also going to put in the optional section. We've got a lot of players in optional at the moment, and they are often these cheaper kind of players as well. If you're on a wild card, fine, Ferguson, but I am a little bit concerned about Ferguson. Potentially, maybe we might see Welbeck come back in. Now Welbeck is back fit again. Maybe he's going to get some game time, and again, blank game week coming up. Double game week looks less likely. He's not really the kind of player I would want to go for, really. I don't think, you know, just the rotation risk as well. It's just not too good. Rodrigo I like. I think I've got to put him in a good transfer at least. Very, very unlucky not to get more points on the board in Game Week 20. He kind of had a shot that he took, cleared off the line, and he also had a goal disallowed as well. So very unfortunate not to get FPL returns in Game Week 20, and he has just been a real star for Leeds, hasn't he? So I feel like he is still a very good pick. I like this as a transfer. I'm tempted to put him in great transfer, but I'm not quite ready to move him up there. Trippier, we don't need to spend too much time on. Must buy if you don't have him already. I mean, he's returning literally every week other than like 2 weeks. Like, he's just so unbelievably consistent in his FPL returns. Like, if you haven't got him already, what are you waiting for? I'm going to put Martinelli in the optional section. That's actually probably the lowest I've ever put Martinelli, but again, a game against Manchester United, that is one of the more difficult games. If we're looking for Arsenal attackers, and there's two fixtures we don't think they're going to score too many goals against, it would have been Newcastle, who they didn't score against a couple of weeks ago, and it's going to be Manchester United, the other real strong defence alongside Newcastle and Arsenal. So could potentially be not an amazing game for Martinelli. I mean, he's an option still, of course, but there are some other Arsenal attackers that I do prefer. So I'm going to put him in the optional section. I'm going to put him below Ben White, actually. I do think I slightly prefer Ben White. Fernandes, would I be going for him ahead of the Arsenal game? I don't think I would. I think I'm going to put him down in the avoid section. A lot of money to spend. Yes, very good player, of course, and he did get the return in the first Game Week 20 match, but Arsenal are just such a solid defence right now. I don't really fancy spending that much money. And also, Manchester United are yet another team, yes, one of the 4 teams that is likely to blank in Game Week 25 as well. So you may find yourself creating problems for yourself later down the line. And I'm not convinced, just because of this Arsenal fixture, you know, he's probably not going to do too well against Arsenal, and then after that we're going to be at game week 22, and then we've only got like a couple of game weeks before United are likely to blank. So it doesn't really seem too good to me personally to go for Fernandes. Maybe last game week you could have gone for Fernandes just because of the double game week, but that has now passed. You don't have that opportunity anymore. We need to look forward a little bit, and looking forward, Arsenal fixture blank coming up. Not too keen. For a player this expensive, not too keen on it. Saliba is obviously going to go in a void, as he always does. You can go like here. Ben White and Gabriel are better picks for Arsenal. We all know that by now. So, yeah, if you want an Arsenal defender, Saliba is probably not the one to go for. Ward-Prowse, I am actually... You know, when I was kind of doing some research and making some notes for this video, I was convinced I was going to put Ward-Prowse in a void, but actually, I've changed my mind. Like, before even making this video, I changed my mind. So, I'm actually going to put Ward-Prowse in a good transfer. Now, Ward-Prowse is a really, really interesting one because he is a player you really do have to stick with and kind of just roll with the blanks. He is going to get you blanks sometimes because a lot of his points are dependent on free kicks and penalties. As we've seen, 4 goals in these last 3 game weeks, or 4 game weeks, should I say? Was it 3 or 4? 4. We're in 4 game weeks now since the break. So, yeah, Ward-Prowse obviously scored 4 goals in that time, but one of them was a penalty that he kind of missed and then rebounded it in. 2 of those other goals were free kicks, and he did score 1 goal from open play well, yesterday or the day before, should I say. So, yeah, Ward-Prowse, he is playing in a slightly more advanced position, and that is what is making me want to put him towards good transfer, because he's playing slightly more advanced as a number 10 at the moment, which I do think is going to give him a few more opportunities for open play attacking returns, and that is something the Ward-Prowse has often lacked. He has often been dependent on those free kicks, which is very difficult to predict when he is going to get free kicks, when he's not going to get free kicks, when Southampton are going to draw those fouls in those dangerous areas. Kind of difficult to predict that, but if he's also adding to the set-piece goals with, obviously corners and whatever, and also from open play attacking returns, I think he played really well in Game Week 20. I thought he got himself in some really dangerous areas, putting in some good passes, getting himself like ready to take shots on as well, in kind of the edge of the box towards the, slightly inside of the box as well there. So overall, yeah, I think this is an improving FPL asset and an interesting one to go for. Like I always say with Ward-Prowse, though, if you're going to go for him, stick with him. The week you take him out, he will return. He does get FPL returns, often very, very randomly. So, roll with the blanks. Don't worry about the fixtures too much and just hope for the best, really. Almiron, I'm going to put in a void. I'm sorry, I have to put Almiron in a void. I just feel like his numbers are going downwards. Crystal Palace is the next game that is not ideal. Isak could potentially compete with him for a starting place. I mean, we already saw Almiron substituted off last game against Fulham, and Isak comes on, and Isak scores the goal. Almiron is just he's dropping and dropping and dropping, and I just feel like that if we're looking forward to the next big players to buy, Almiron is not that player. Arsenal midfielders are often obviously very good right now. We're looking at Brighton midfielders, Man United midfielders. We're looking at all kinds of different midfielders right now, and Almiron is actually a player who I'd be tempted to be removing at this stage. Like, I don't think you have to remove Almiron from your team, but I think it's okay to remove him, and therefore, would you be buying him? I don't think so. Mitrovic is, I guess, optional. Like, he's a good player. He's a good pick. Like, he is a player who will score goals in the Premier League against pretty much anyone, but now we've got that Newcastle fixture out of the way. Maybe there's some more opportunities for some goals for him. But, again, it's very difficult to put him any higher than optional right now, to be honest. But I'm going to drop him in here anyway. If you want to go for Mitrovic, fair enough. Saka, I prefer to Martinelli at the moment. Much better numbers, playing with confidence. He looks really good at the moment, doesn't he, Saka? In fact, I'll probably have to put him somewhere around here. The one problem is this Manchester United fixture. So, could you afford potentially to wait one more game week before bringing in the likes of Saka and Martinelli and Ødegaard and Nketiah and Ben White and whoever else? Maybe. I think you can afford to wait one more week if you want to, but that doesn't mean you can't go for them now. And I would quite like to go for some Arsenal midfielders right now, Arsenal attackers right now, because they are playing just so well at the moment, aren't they? And yeah, Saka on penalties, playing so well, playing so directly. We absolutely love Saka at the moment. Let's put him in good transfer. De Bruyne, great transfer still. Wolves up next. Wolves are a team that can be got at these days. You do expect Man City, even though they're not in the greatest of form, to get a goal or two against them. And we have got that double game week in 23 for Manchester City as well. So we've got some good fixtures, or okay fixtures in the short term. We've got a double game week in 23. De Bruyne is going to be very nice for that as well. He got himself an assist so far in game week 20. And I wouldn't be surprised if he got a couple, a return or two against Spurs. He does like those big games. De Bruyne is a bit of a big game player in that sense. Mitoma, love him, love him. I've got to put him in great transfer. I mean, I'm tempted to put him in must-buy. I know I've put Mitoma very high in tier list before. I really rate this player. His numbers at the moment are so good. He's getting himself in dangerous areas constantly. He's probably the main attacking threat for Brighton. You know, he's not only looking good statistically, he's passing the eye test as well when you watch him play. He really does look fantastic, doesn't he? Even Arsenal at the moment are actually considering launching a bid to try and buy Mitoma right now, which is absolutely crazy. So yeah, Mitoma, superstar right now, absolute superstar, and really a player to keep a very close eye on. 4.9 million, even if Brighton do get that blank game week in 25, Mitoma is cheap enough that you can afford to bench him as well. So that's a nice little added touch. And you feel like in this short period of time, Brighton are doing so well in attacking ways that you do feel like Mitoma could make up for the fact that you might have to remove him later, or you might have to bench him later. He could make up enough points that he's actually worth it. So he's definitely a player who I'm strongly considering buying this week. I think he's so good. I really do. I advise you guys to go and watch this player. He is honestly insane. Harry Kane, Fulham up next, so it's a good fixture. So I guess he would be a good transfer. Yeah, Harry Kane, still one of the highest scoring players in FPL. Currently the third highest scoring player in FPL at the moment, just behind Haaland and Trippier. In recent game weeks, Kane has been doing arguably even better than Haaland though. So yeah, if he can see what he does in the second game in game week 20, if he looks good again, then yeah, I feel like we've got to go for him. He looks actually pretty decent against Arsenal in the second half as well. Got a couple of chances to score. Didn't quite happen. Creative as well. But yes, against Fulham, it's going to be a very different story, and we do expect that Harry Kane will do pretty well. So, yeah, good transfer. Do we put him in great transfer? Maybe. I probably will stick with good transfer for now. Fabian Schär, yeah, if you're going to go for a Newcastle defender, I would go for Botman. I'm not really too keen on Fabian Schär, so I'm going to put him down here, I guess. Maybe we'll put him just above Dunk because he's got a higher chance of clean sheets, and they do both have the exact same problem with the potential blank coming up as well in 25. So yeah, I guess avoid. Maybe I'm being harsh, but we probably should put him above like Aurier and Raya, shouldn't we? Yeah, let's put him in optional, I guess. Nick Pope, he's expensive for a goalkeeper. He is keeping consistent clean sheets. Again, you've got that blank game week coming up potentially though. So let's put him somewhere in optional, I guess. Ben Mee, blank game week coming up. 4.7 million. I don't think I'd really want to spend 4.7 million on Ben Mee, if I'm totally honest. I do like the look of Brighton getting a couple of clean sheets, but the blank game week, and the fact that Mee is 4.7 million, you can get Rico Henry if he's available next game, 4.5 million with more attacking threat. I like it. You can also get Ethan Pinnock for 4.4 million as well, who is doing very well as well, just like Ben Mee. Consider Pinnock maybe 4.4 instead of Ben Mee. Yeah, if I'm going for a Brentford defender, it's not me. It's not me. Mee is not for me. But Luke Shaw is also probably not for me. Would I buy? Like, he's another player who is a good pick. But do you buy him this game week up against Arsenal? I don't know that you do. It's just not a good fixture. It's like you think of fixtures that you don't want to have defenders against or buy them immediately for. And Arsenal is going to be one of those fixtures. So do we have to therefore put Shaw in a void? I think we do. If you don't already have Shaw, then maybe this is not the week to go for him. I think even some people will be considering, you know, actually benching Shaw this week as well. So I don't know if this would be a week to buy him. So I'm going to put him in a void. But good player to have in general, just not really the week for him. I don't know. What do you think, guys? Next up, Solly March, who I think is going to be a good transfer. I'm not quite... I mean, maybe he's great. Like, I know he's scoring more points than Mitoma, but we're not honestly expecting March to be scoring, you know, 10, 11, 19 points every game week. I mean, even Erling Haaland can't do that. Do we think Solly March is a better player than Erling Haaland? I don't think we do. So, yeah, his numbers suggest that his output at the moment is not sustainable. He's still a good pick, don't get me wrong, and his numbers are good, but the level he is actually kind of competing at, you know, the amount of goals he's scoring at the moment, I think he's scored, he's scored obviously a bunch of goals, 4 goals in that period. He's got something like 1.2 XG. So he's really scoring wonder goal after wonder goal, and you guys have probably seen that as well. Is he going to be able to sustain that? Perhaps not. Whereas Mitoma is much closer to his actual numbers. Mitoma is actually kind of scoring actually slightly under his stats, what his stats suggest. So I think Mitoma is just that slightly better option than March. I love March. I think he's a really good pick. You probably don't want to have both of these players just because of that upcoming blank, which could cause you problems at that point, unless you want to use your free hit in Game Week 25, of course, which would solve all of the problems I've kind of mentioned about potential blanks in Game Week 25. So yeah, obviously maybe that's a consideration, but if you had to go for one, for me, it would still be Mitoma. I know that sounds a little bit silly because March has more points, but looking at the, how the player is playing, watching them in the game, watching their positioning, and looking at the numbers as well, it does suggest that moving forward, Mitoma has probably got some more chance of scoring slightly higher than March in the future. Hopefully that makes sense. Next up, Ødegaard. I think you just have to put him in great transfer. Like, terrible fixture against Man United, but he's just been in such good form. We kind of rated him ahead of that Spurs game. We knew that Ødegaard was going to get some good chances in the central areas, and he was going to be dangerous and taking shots because kind of Spurs standing off Arsenal. We spoke about that last game. Ødegaard was a really good pick for the Spurs game, but for the Manchester United game, I don't know if Ødegaard will get the same luxuries. But he is definitely a player you want to own, and definitely a player you pretty much, by Game Week 23, he's going to be a must-buy. You know, if you haven't got, like, when we do the Game Week 23 version of this video, I'm telling you already, Ødegaard is going to be in the must-buy category. But you can potentially afford to wait until Game Week 21 to bring him in. No, Game Week 22 to bring him in. You can potentially wait one more week, maybe even 2 more weeks, probably 1. But he's still a great pick. Like, I totally get it if you want to buy him now. I totally get it. I like it as well. He would definitely be high on my kind of watch list. Yeah, I'm going to put him here, even in the difficult fixture. Marcus Rashford is a really tough one. Like, on one hand, you fancy Rashford on the counter-attack against Arsenal, just like he did earlier on in the season. But on the other hand, you know, Arsenal are just so tough right now. That's such a tough fixture. They are keeping clean sheets against everyone. They really are doing so well defensively. They arguably, at this point, you probably say Arsenal are the best defence in the league. You really would. So, yeah, Rashford is not, well, any attacker, you don't want to pick him ahead of the best defence in the league, do you? But Rashford has been in such good form as well. The best form of any midfielder in FPL at the moment. So, oh, a really, really difficult one. If you don't have him already, is now the moment to buy him? Maybe, maybe not. I think I'm going to put him in a good transfer because I still think he is worth having a look at if you don't have him already. If you have him already, definitely don't sell him. But I think there are some other players that potentially offer a slightly higher upside at maybe a slightly cheaper price, who are maybe a little bit better, that can get you points this week. Maybe they have double game weeks coming up as well. Those are kind of players I maybe would think about prioritising. But at the same time, that's not to say ignore Rashford. He's definitely not a player to be ignored either. So good transfer, high-end good transfer, not quite great transfer. And that leaves us with one player left, and player number 30. And that's going to be Ivan Toney. I always call him Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney. Why can't I say Ivan Toney? Am I stupid? Maybe. Good transfer. I'm going to put him in good transfer as well. Points looking likely to come immediately. I know some of you guys are looking for Darwin Nunez replacements if you didn't replace him last game week. Toney is a very, very good option for that. I know people have been speaking about his potential ban for gambling offences. Like, I myself have been putting Toney low down on the tier list before because I thought, we're going to get some kind of statement or something coming out about the ban. We expected that to happen last week. It hasn't. The new prevailing opinion is that this could run for months, and I don't think we can afford to wait months before considering a player like Tony. He's going to score a lot of points during those months that it may take before he actually gets a ban, if he gets a ban. His numbers are so good. He's got good fixtures. We're not in a situation where we've got players like Mitrovic with double game weeks anymore. We haven't got Darwin Nunez anymore because of his injury. So the options in the forward section have kind of started depleting a little bit, which has kind of meant that Tony, if he is going to continue to play, and it looks like he is at this present moment, he's kind of become one of the best forward options. And I think the key thing here really is that how long are you going to wait? You know, he's going to keep banging in points pretty much every single game week, particularly now he is fit and available. He's going to keep getting those points, and people are going to keep waiting and saying, oh, what if he gets banned? What if he gets banned? How many points does he have to get before you kind of stop saying, oh, but maybe he gets banned? And that's kind of where my brain is kind of at right now. I think we often worry, like people kind of worried about Harry Kane getting a yellow card. People early on in the season, myself included, worried about Erling Haaland. Would he get injured? You know, it's all about what ifs a lot of the time. Callum Wilson, when he was banging in goals, people were put off by him. What if he gets injured? What if Tony gets banned? Very famously, Diego Costa, a few seasons ago, a long time ago, was very close to getting suspended as well, but he kept scoring and not getting that 5th yellow card, but people just kept avoiding him. So yeah, Tony, even if he does get some kind of ban in even if it's in a few weeks time, I think that he can score enough points to make it worth taking that -4 to get rid of him at that stage. You know, in game week 25, when he does have that blank game week, you know, maybe that's a good time to jump off him. Maybe that's a good time to sell him for another player. Maybe we're going to find out some more double game weeks, and there could be some more forwards that emerge as good options by that point. But right now, at this moment, Tony is a good transfer. Not quite happy to put him in this section above because of the value offered by some of the players above, it's particularly in some different positions as well. But Tony is still a good pick and probably my favourite forward player to go for right now, maybe alongside Harry Kane. Those two players are kind of your forward targets, I would say, if you really are looking for a new forward at the moment. And yeah, that's going to be the tier list. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like before you disappear. Please do subscribe if you're new around here, but that's going to be it for me today. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Loads of content to come. If you want a wildcard video, by the way, stay tuned. I think I'm going to make a wildcard template video because I know a few of you guys are thinking about wildcarding this week. We'll talk about that very, very, very soon. Yeah, we'll do some other bits and bobs this week, of course, as well. So yeah, I'll see you on the rest of the content in the week. But for today, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.